Welcome to Exit Stage Left. I am your host, Niti, and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here on North Carolina. We are people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel. We are shining a light on knowledge that is being hidden from you, and we're sharing the truth about your birthright and your inheritance. If you have any questions, please put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. Today, I am joined by Tammy Healy, the host of the American States Assemblies podcast and co-leader of the Outreach Think Tank. So welcome, everyone, and welcome, Tammy.
Hey, everybody. It's so great to be back after having that Thanksgiving break. It was nice to just relax and rejuvenate and recharge the batteries. But glad to be back. Glad to see you, Niti. And I just want to say a great big hello to the audience. And I don't know about you, Niti, but last night listening to Anna's webinar, it sounds like we have some celebrating to do. So, in my mind, when I was listening to her podcast, it was kind of like, the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz, singing, ding dong, the witch is dead, the wicked witch of the Wizard West, like I just have this like awe-inspiring energy, like, yay, things are happening. And, we should be celebrating. And so that's kind of like a renewing energy. And it was great coming off of, coming back from vacation. So I don't know. What about you? How do you feel about that webinar last night?
It was just what was needed, especially after spending time with family that believes that, the world is coming to an end. It's like I'm really looking forward to being able, I'm not interested in as much of saying anything like, I told you so or something like that. But what I really can't wait, to me, the biggest gift this holiday, this winter celebration would be to really just be able to create the relief for the people, because what Anna is saying, what she's doing, and what we as the assemblies need to be prepared for is supporting that relief. And so, Tammy and I were discussing this a few minutes ago, guys, and we were just like, how can we help everyone prepare themselves? On this show, we're trying to share and discuss with everyone what are the action steps that we can all be working on, that we can all be taking. One of the things I heard from Anna on her webinar last night was how to relax.
Yes.
Practicing how to relax. If you don't know how to breathe, which, most people right now are shallow breathers.
Yeah, you got to have belly breaths.
They don't want anybody to see them breathing. They try to breathe and not let anybody see that they're breathing. And they've practiced this. I'm not really sure why, because I feel like there's this, probably one of the programming messages is don't let anybody see you moving around breathing, because you're not allowed to move. And it's probably from sitting in those white boxes for so long under the white light where we're not allowed to do anything except, receive the programming. So to me, that was probably one of the biggest action steps that we need to encourage in the people. It's not, folks are so busy feeling like they have to totally unlearn and relearn and whatever. Can you start with breathing?
Right. Well, and that's one of the things, going back to a few podcasts ago, the book that Debra-Ann brought to our attention, The Next Conversation, that's one of the techniques that the author recommended when you're faced with, confrontation or, an argument or some kind of combative discussion, is instead of getting defensive, right, take a deep breath. And that is calming your nervous system down and allowing your brain then to think rationally instead of, an emotional response. And so, breathing serves many different purposes, but that regulating the nervous system is one of them. And it's an easy practice for people to take up, immediately, like right now. And I think she was discussing that when she was talking about the med beds, right? Like that's one of the requirements when you get in there, is that you have to relax in order for the healing frequencies to work. So, it's great practice for all of us. We can start right now so that when we get that opportunity to, go into the med bed, that we'll be prepared for it. So I had to laugh though when she started talking about, people wanting to go in to change their hair color, and I'm like, why would anybody want to use a med bed for those purposes? But it's, I guess there's some people out there that think like that.
She was being generous.
Yeah.
She was being very gracious, because we already know that, the way that the corporatocracy has trained the self-loathing into all the people.
Right.
Most people are so much more interested in cutting their nose off and their ears off and their head off and just everything off,
Right.
like cut it all off, and they want to put themselves back together again, like Mr. Potato Head, which, by the way, is a notice, friends. When they created that Mr. Potato Head, that was a notice we should all be super offended by, where you are just not worthy enough. You are not beautiful enough. You are not perfect enough. You are not whatever. You should be able to change whatever. Isn't it? Wouldn't it be cool if I could just change my everything like Mr. Potato Head? No, that's not cool. That's dumb. You
Right.
came in to this world worthy beyond belief. There's literally nothing that you need to do to be better, to be more important, to be more loved, to be more valued. You are the intrinsic value. And the fact that they have diminished you to this degree, and they constantly diminish. And the vocabulary, this was a hard time for me, Tammy, listening to the family, because everything they say is so negative. Even when they're being excited and positive, it's so awful. Like they're just straight diminishing people the whole entire time. And what I've learned, well, I've been practicing this for a long time. So most of the time I don't even hear it, because
Yeah.
I don't allow myself to hear like those
Just like
low
white
frequencies.
noise.
Yeah. It's like, what? Oh, did you say something to me? I wasn't listening to you. But, all of that, most of the time I'm not listening to any of their nonsense. I'm just, going by the smiles, and because that's the training too. They smile and wave, but then it's just like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. I find sometimes that what people have come accustomed to is they like to get together with their family members and complain.
Yeah.
And
What else is there to talk about?
right. Well, and the interesting thing for me is that some people haven't realized yet that they have the power to elicit change. So behind that complaint comes the power to make a change, right? And they haven't learned how to step into their power yet. And so for me, I find it more of a sadness for them. Like I feel bad for them because they haven't yet learned their power. And so, I've always been a solution-based person. Like if there's a problem, I've learned I can fix it, and I just have to think logically through the problem and figure a way how to solve it. And a lot of people haven't yet, learned how to do that. And, and this is part of our transition time, and some people in their lifetime may not get there yet. They may not get there. And that's unfortunately a sad reality that we have to accept, right? Like, so for you sitting in your family gathering, you've accepted the fact that this is who they are. This is all they ever want to be. And, so you sit there smiling and nodding your head and just kind of going along with it. I had to learn the same thing in my family, is that they just want to complain. And time again, I've tried to bring up, well, here's what you could do. Here's what we're doing. Why don't you join us? And I don't know if that's like a frightening factor for them. It's like, whoa, wait, now I got to do something. Like I have to do something. I thought I could just complain and somebody else takes care of it for me.
Well, somebody has got to be to blame. The whole problem with their whole everything is that, well, if I can fix it, that means I can't blame somebody, and this is the blame game is the problem. Okay. And so that goes back to, why are you lying? I mean, I will say I had an opportunity this weekend, which I was really thankful for, that I had the opportunity to actually say this to my mother-in-law, because she was saying something to me and she says, well, our life's already over. I mean, we're like 85, we're not going to be more than 90 or 100. So like, what is even the point? And I said, well, we didn't have to continue to keep committing suicide. We could live a lot longer. Like, you can't even know the potential. And then she was like, that's not true. The oldest person only lived to be 111. I said, are you talking about on Google? And she was just like, what? And I said, well, if you believe Google, then I guess it's true. And then she was just like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, all of your information only allows you to know that. So it must be true.
Right.
And she goes, what are you saying? And I said, well, I have other information, but you're not interested in that information. You're only interested in your information. So it must be true. So sure, probably your life's over almost, And she just looked at me and she goes, well, I'm not saying that. I said, but you're not interested in anything I have to say. So it must be true. And then she realized that she's constantly slamming me, right? I said, listen, I'm not here to convince you of anything. I said, as long as you know it all, then it must be true.
Right.
And I said it like 10 times. And then finally she said, well, what do you mean? And I said, there are ancient writings that are accessible to people who seek that knowledge. You don't seek it, so you won't know it.
Right.
And so, I said I couldn't possibly make it up, because how and why? What is my motivation to make it up? That's dumb.
Right.
And I said, but I have happened to have read ancient texts, and I know for a fact that we could live 300 to 400 years if we wouldn't commit suicide.
What did she say to that?
She just looked at me and I said, she goes, well, what are you talking about? I said, but you're not interested in reading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So unless you can't if you can't hear it from your 3 doctors that you have not ever spoken to any other doctors, because you worship these 3 doctors, and also Google. I mean, who can argue with that? Not me, certainly
Right,
not
right.
me. And so I said, it's okay. I said, but if that's what you think, I just think it's sad. And it makes my heart break for you, because we really wouldn't want you to just give up already. Yeah. And then when I said that, I said, I'm going to go to bed. And, it's been, she just all of a sudden was like, wait a minute. Now she wants to know. Right. And I was like, I mean, so I kind of just left it there. But I will say that I am using that as an invitation to possibly give her a book at Christmas, because there was a year, Tammy, I gave books away to our parents.
Yeah.
And my mom said,
and they're sitting on the shelf collecting dust, right?
Right. My mom was like, if you give me one more book to read, girl, like, what is wrong with you? And I said, wait a minute. You raised me and told me that I'm supposed to read all the time. And now you're mad because I read all the time.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting because, in my family, they spend a lot of time in front of the TV or a screen. My father believes that having connection is, talking with people on Facebook. And meanwhile, my parents live together, and my brother lives with them, and they're all sitting at the table. My mom, not so much on her phone, but my dad and my brother, and she's sitting there. Nobody's talking to her, but they're on their phones, and it's like, that's really sad. It's sad because, and I'll just say, I actually had to say, how about we put the phones down and we talk to each other? There's a novel idea. So, and speaking of people of age, you said, you mentioned that your mother-in-law is 85. I just want to put a big, shout out to all the elderly people in our assemblies. In my assembly, we have we have two coordinators that are above the age of 75 and older. And we have another assembly member that is celebrating a born day today. And so, you got to love those people that are still going at it in their older years. And, like, especially our fiduciary and her late husband, all the work that they put into, getting us to the point today, and those that are showing up in their retirement years and putting their time and effort and energy into getting our assemblies up and functioning. God bless you guys. I mean, I just got to love you for doing that. And just keep on going. I think those are the things that are going to keep us all spiritually young and growing graciously in our elderly days to come. And so I just wanted to put a shout out there. And my other thing that I wanted to say is, I wanted to ask you, Niti, have you ever been to a magic show and have been able to figure out the magic trick? Like, I'm talking about like the David Copperfields and, the big time illusionists, right? Have you ever been able to watch their illusions and figure out exactly how they did it?
I have not, but I will say my son, when he was like 11, he was very much into the card thing, like
Mm-hmm,
card
mm-hmm.
tricks and stuff.
Yeah.
And he learned some of, some of these really crazy tricks that they do, like in Vegas and stuff.
Yep.
And so he did teach me one or two things that he figured out, and it was pretty incredible.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say that the people, Anna, our fiduciary, and her team are those people. They figured out the con game. They figured out the illusion. And, that's the brilliance of the people in our organization that we're dealing with here, that they were able to uncover this huge illusion, this huge con game that we've all been living in. And they've been able to uncover the fraud. And so, it's kind of like, you have to see it to believe it, but I think that that's part of the reason why some people are having a hard time understanding and comprehending what's going on here. And when she is talking about the fraud and speaking of it, they're having a hard time wrapping their heads around it, because the con game, they're living in it, they're in it. And so it's hard for them to see the trick and the illusion. So, but we just are so grateful for the fact that they were brilliant enough to figure out the fraud and to see it when those of us could not.
Yeah.
So.
It's going to be awesome. That was what I'm saying. Like, once the banks open, more important than the actual bank credits and stuff is the fact that we'll be able to now take our families and back them up off the table.
Yeah.
Because they're on a game board right now. But
Right.
when we can pull them up off of that so that they can come up here and look down and say, "Oh my gosh, I was just on that Monopoly board."
Right.
What are you talking about? And then they can actually come back out here and go, "Whoa, that's crazy."
Right.
So revealing, like I was saying, when my son told me how he was able to figure out, like one or
Card
two of the
trick.
tricks, I was just like, how did you figure it out? Maybe it was YouTube. I don't really know, but like, you know, I don't know if he was the one brilliant enough to figure it out on his own, but even if he found it on the YouTube, he found it, right?
Right.
So
He was looking to how to figure it out. Yeah.
seeking.
Yeah.
What does it say?
Yeah.
It says those who seek knowledge of the truth shall be set free.
Yeah.
And so you have to seek the knowledge of the truth.
Right.
And so that was the funny part. I could tell when I was talking to my mother-in-law, she thinks she found it. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, in her head, she feels she found the truth and she feels she has access to the truth. And, like, to your point of your family saying they need to feel connected or whatever, this is the brainwashing nonsense.
Right.
You're not connected. My mother-in-law said she thought our kids, because they weren't in public school or university, they weren't allowed to have friends.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, I got that too. My parents couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that, my son went to a co-op that I taught at, and in my classes I had like 10 to 12 kids, and they couldn't wrap their heads around, okay, so they're not isolated in the house. No, I don't prevent them from going out and socializing and being a part of society.
Right.
It's crazy, the thought process, but it's the same thing, Niti. When I was pregnant with my first son, I already said, I'm nursing all my kids, like that's what the purpose of being a woman is. That's the purpose of having these things. So I'm going to do what God intended me to do for them. But both my mother and my mother-in-law were like, you're not going to bottle feed your baby? And I'm like, no, why would I do that? Why would I spend extra money on chemically produced products when my body can very well produce what my baby needs and better for it? It's like, it's the mentality. The brainwashing is quite amazing to me.
It really is. I mean, but we see it on our assemblies.
Yeah.
They want you to tell them, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to be doing? I know that you and I have talked about this with the meetings, and even on our assembly, well, what is the meeting going to be about? I want to know so that I can decide if I want to come or not. Look, if you don't come to the dinner table, you don't know what's going on. So we can't worry about you. You can watch the replay. You weren't participating in the actual conversation. If you don't come to dinner, you don't know what's going on. So you would probably want to come to dinner and find out what's going on. Look, this is how living people operate. This is what Anna keeps trying to hammer into us. What do you want? What do you want? You know what I started doing, Tammy? I don't know if you've noticed this, but I started going back to the very first podcast I did with Anna, episode 1. And then I started clipping shorts because Anna has said the same thing 10 million times. Everybody's like, is Anna going to be on the podcast this week? I don't know. I told her to take a break for the rest of the year because I'm like, this is one thing you don't need to worry about because I know what it's like to grieve. I know that every time when I was grieving, I could make a plan. And then when it was time to do the plan, I might not be in the mood for the plan. I might not be good company. It's hard for her to come and talk to everybody for, however long, if her heart isn't really feeling that, you know what I mean? And it's too much. And why would we do that to her?
Yeah, she could be spending her time doing more productive things. And I feel like, we have her Monday night webinars and she gives us the information. I actually really am enjoying the new format of the Monday night webinars where, Shannon is accepting the questions. I really like that format. And I think that that's, it's great because we've got so much work to do in our assemblies. I know for me, I don't know what it's like for you, Niti, but it's hard to keep up with all the different meetings
Yes.
We've got the coordinator training calls on Thursday nights. We got the webinar on Monday night. I kind of feel like that's enough for us to get an update on a weekly basis. And most certainly that's enough for Anna to be spending her time giving to us, because she's got a lot of stuff on her plate. And so, it's really, we have to now start, or continue with the work that we're doing in our assemblies. And instead of spending all this time going to all these different meetings, instead, we spend the time actually doing the work. Because there is a lot of work to be done.
Mostly, and most of it is relationships. And most of it is actually building relationships, So here's the thing. She said, we can do this, we can do that, we can do whatever. What do you want? You're owed a family style government. What do you want? She said, we already have the laws in place to clean the environment, to do all these different things. It just requires enforcement. What does that mean? That means that we need our people on the ground here, our army, our subcontractor.
National Guard.
Yeah. All the subcontractor needs to do is know, hello, that we are freaking here. That's what they need. They need to know that. What the problem with the assemblies is they think they're going to be doing the work. No, you're not. You're going to be letting the subcontractor know, look, that's not the American way. The American way is you're supposed to feed yourself, know how to manage, things. And then the government part is when we all come together and we keep each other safe and we protect the people and the assets. What does safe mean? Not all this crap that they've told you.
Yeah, not the law enforcement crap. Yeah.
Right. Not the law enforcement, not the health enforcement, not all the decisions that they make.
Codes, the statutes.
Right. Not the regulations of your food.
Right.
Not the regulations of your food. Hello. Right. They're regulating it. Okay. You should have enough sense to know that I'll eat if Tammy cooks because maybe I like what Tammy makes. And if I don't like what Tammy makes, I'm not going to eat what Tammy makes. And I don't have to be mean to Tammy. I just have to say, I didn't really like that, Tammy, and Tammy probably doesn't care, because if Tammy doesn't have to feed but a few people, I'm sure Tammy's a lot happier than having to feed a whole bunch of people.
I know, just for the record, if somebody cooks for me, I'll eat whatever it is you make. Unless it's, there's maybe a few things that I don't like, but I'm not very picky.
I mean, here's the thing is what I'm saying is that anybody who creates a business, I see we got some chefs in the chat here or whatever, like anybody who loves to cook for people and nourish them, mostly the living people, not the factory food. Okay. But when you have an actual man or woman who is making food for you, they want to do a good job. They're not trying not to do a good job.
And I think too, like the mindset, I think this goes back to the whole indoctrination. I mean, because we've been indoctrinated on so many levels, but people sometimes eat food not because they're trying to nourish their body. They eat food because it tastes good and it's filling the pain in their stomach, right? That their hunger pain. But we have to look at it in a different way, right? Like we eat food to nourish our bodies, to keep us healthy and strong, and maintaining our energy. And we want to enjoy it also, right? Like we want it to taste good. That's why we've got taste buds,
Right.
But the fact that, sometimes people are eating on the go and, they're not even thinking about what they're eating. And the whole environment around eating our food has become, just so distorted that, I enjoy learning about how other countries their surrounding of preparing the food, going to buy the food, going to prepare the food, and they prepare it together, and they're laughing and, maybe drinking a glass of wine and, enjoying each other's company. And then they all sit down together as a family and, have a discussion and laugh while they're eating and enjoying that whole time
Energy,
together.
it's an energy exchange,
Yeah.
and that whole thing. Okay, so I will go ahead and proclaim and determine and decree we will no longer be eating on the go. Why are we eating on the go?
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't do that. I will fast before I do that. My kids will fast. We won't eat because we're not going to do that. And what we want to train everyone to do is not to do that anymore. Okay. Very much the same way as, like, I'm going to share in the chat here this link for Wim Hof. Okay. So I'm pasting a link here, y'all. It's a YouTube channel for Wim Hof, who teaches you how to breathe. Okay. It's the Wim Hof method. Okay. If you have never heard of it, did you know that you could have the flu and you can start doing the Wim Hof method of breathing, and you can cure yourself by reoxygenating the body alone? Yeah. Also, did you know nobody's supposed to be running down the street and eating at the same time? That's crazy. Right. And like, that's something the kids, when you're in the city, you see people walking with food and eating. That is not okay. It is not what you should do. It will cause you to get sick just to do that, just doing that.
My kids laugh at me because, when we're sitting and eating, if they start getting rambunctious, I always say, stop, you're giving me agita. And they're like, what is agita? And I'm like, it's like an upset stomach. I'm like, because, there's chaos. It's supposed to be calm and, relaxed. And I got to let my body digest this food,
It's the agitation. That's what agita is. You're getting agitated. And you're not, when you feel like this at all, then your A1C goes up. So you are becoming insulin resistant just by doing that. Right. So when you eat and you drive, or you're eating in the car, or you're forcing your babies to do this, it is criminal.
Right. Yeah.
And you are creating insulin resistance in them just because you're doing that. There are so many free things that you can gain in your health just by not eating on the run.
Right.
Just by not eating on the run.
Some people will say, well, I have to eat because I won't have an opportunity and I get hangry.
Right. Well, that's because you're eating blank, empty food that has no nutrition in it. Right. Bread on bread can't help you. Okay. Yes. And eating bread on bread while you're running is more agita than anything else. And it gives you nothing but heartburn. And that's the reason why you're addicted to Tums, which is also not good, because now what you're doing is you are killing the acid in your stomach, which, by the way, is not the reason for the acid-base imbalance in your pH. Okay. So everybody can just make that stop right now. That pH balance is electrical, because we're electrical. It's a voltage. It's not acid actually the way that you think. So if you're more acidic or more basic, it's an electrical discussion. It's a voltage problem. It is. And the volts problem is based on sugar and salt, because sugar corrodes electricity and salt conducts electricity.
Thank you. Yes. Yep.
So you could go ahead and eat real salt, not the White Morton's crap that was raped. You know what? I can't wait for people not to go to work anymore, so they'll stop making all this crap. Because you know what's going to happen is that all these corporations will collapse. Thank God we will no longer have Frito-Lay and all this other bull crap. Okay. Yeah. And once all this garbage is gone, who's making the seed oils? Nobody. Yeah. Who's making all this crap? Nobody.
Nobody.
Thank God. Yeah. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, universe, for washing away that evil, because then the only thing that you'll have is butter and lard and tallow and real fat,
Yep.
real food, real, only real, not the fake, only the real. Only the real, not the fake.
Right.
And I mean, okay, Pringles. At least Pringles, I can make something pretend like Pringles out of. I mean, I bet Chef over here who's on here can know how to take mashed potatoes when you mash them real fine, and then you can bake them into something called a Pringles. Because I've seen chefs do this. The chefification of actual taking like real potatoes. But if they did it with lard, if they did it with the air fryer with the lard, and not, so you know what you do if to make the Pringles like that, what you have to do, I think, and Chef can confirm it, but you got to dehydrate the chip. Okay, you dehydrate it and make it into a like a hard chip thing, and then you take that thing. It looks like a noodle. Like you could take pasta, for example, which is the emulsified rice that they've shaped into whatever shape and made it hard. And now you could take that hard thing and you could drop it into a fryer and it'll poof like popcorn. It'll poof.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. So you can test this at home with any pasta right now. Okay. Especially rice pasta. I don't know that it works with wheat. And also you shouldn't eat wheat anyway. So anyway, if you get the rice pasta, you can take it, not a piece of rice. Don't get confused, friends. This is rice pasta. You can take that. You can drop it into a fryer, and it'll puff up like a
chip, right?
Yeah, it'll be kind of foamy,
like a hard
chippy.
Noodle.
It'll be a crunchy. It's not going to be a hard noodle. It'll be light, and you can bite through it, and it'll be crispy. Okay, so you could test this with a piece of rice noodle. Okay.
Kind of like the noodles that the Chinese restaurant.
Exactly. They take the noodles that what it is a thing of ramen. Okay. So like if you take especially a rice one, if you take the rice cake ramen and you drop it into hot lard, it'll go poof and it'll be crispy and it'll be amazing. You'll be like, what is that?
Yeah.
Kind of good. So like I can actually make a fake Pringle, but how do you make cereal? None of it, any of it. I don't know how you make any of it because it's all lies. Okay. All of it is lies. So you're not going to have that anymore. Sorry to burst anybody's bubbles. Now you got to get back to bacon, sausage, and eggs. You know?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how we got on the food thing because that's so fun, but.
Yes. I don't remember either, but in any case, it was a good segue.
We're doing the magic tricks. We're doing the magic tricks because, Anna's dissolving the courts. So no more magistrates from the magic tricks.
Right. Right.
That's going to be gone. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and when she was talking about, because I think there was a couple of questions that came in last night about getting their homes back, and she made a comment about them having restitution.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the idea of them emptying their pension funds, all of these judges' pension funds, because that's how they've been building their pension funds, is based on all the bonds that they've created through their court system.
You're doing that. You know what I say? They took life.
Well, yes. Right.
I want them tried for that.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to do that kind of harm and live. Sorry. I don't care about your stupid pension fund. Also, I don't care about those really complicated.
The restitution, the money that they've stolen from the people, I believe needs to come out of their funds, right? And I agree with you. I think
their estates should be dissolved. Yeah, I think they should have their estates should be dissolved, and they should be all put before a firing squad, and that should just be done.
Yep.
And because there is no reason to have no big conversation about it,
right?
Because the harm has been done. You have stolen lives. What is the difference between putting a man in a box and raping him any other kind of way? And who knows what was happening to them while they were in there anyway? Not one crime, but multiple crimes. Okay. Just the fact that they're in there is a crime. But besides that crime, then there's the white light.
You're talking
destruction
about
of
the
their.
jails.
Yeah, I'm talking about everybody who's in the prisons. Mostly,
That don't belong in
most of them they're victimless crimes. Okay,
there. Right.
most of them are victimless crimes. If
Right.
there's anybody in there for actual crime, why are they still alive? I don't understand what's going on.
I don't know. I think because the way that the system is structured, right? But what we're getting back to is living in a society where you have a conscience, where you're making decisions based on doing the right thing and not based on a paycheck or getting fired from a job, right? Like you have to make your choices by doing the right thing.
I told you I started listening to the beginning of our podcast, me and Anna.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to continue to do this, okay, friends, because everybody needs to learn all her 10 million lessons in bites because there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
But because every episode, it's like, I don't have the energy to just, I could every single day for the rest of my life, just for the 100 episodes I did with her, make these shorts. I would be busy, okay? And so I'm going to make the attempt to do as many as I can. So you're welcome, everybody. I'm going to work on that. But and then I'm saying this because her teachings are there. We need to start exercising them. So can we start with exercising the breathing, exercising the getting our minds on right? And I know Debra-Ann will love doing that. Probably next week we can start talking about how some of those exercises can go.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us on these shows need to start offering the solution. So Greg and I are starting this Thursday. This Thursday, we're going to start. Greg, by the way, is determined to guard Anna's fields. And he's been in touch with her daily. They've been both commiserating together since he lost his wife 3 weeks after she lost James. And the fact that he feels led to do this right now, I want to honor him too, right? And the fact that he is excited and ready because we want to help everybody on Moss get their land back. Because we need to get our assets back into the hands of the real Americans.
Right.
And so that is a mammoth job in and of itself. And so Greg and I are going to start tackling that on Thursday.
That's awesome. Because that would be a podcast that we could share even with some of our local farmers.
As you should.
Yeah.
And then they should connect with us so that we can help walk them through everything. And this creates the vehicle for what Anna wants to do. You know, one of the big fears with releasing the banks is also, what are the people going to do? Because this could really be big or it could really be brutal. But I'm here to tell y'all, I have faith in you. And I had a dream last night. I started to tell Tammy about it. And I said, Tammy, I'm going to wait and share this dream with everybody. I had a dream last night. It was so specific and so real because I've been thinking about this a lot because we've been discussing it a lot on our assembly. We've been discussing what are we going to do as soon as the banks open, because it could be real easy when the banks open for us to be like, okay, we're going to take a vacation for a month and then we'll come back and get back to work again because everybody's been doing so much on the assemblies, right?
Right.
But our assembly has decided, no, that's not what we're going to do. And so we've been discussing like what's step 1, what's step 2, what's step 3. And one of the first steps that we want to make is calling all men because now we can show them the money. And that means calling the enforcement, you know, and it's hard to call the enforcement in when you can't show them what is going on. But just what Anna has done in the last 10 days, the last 30 days is enough for us to start pouring that over them. And so we must go ahead. If you haven't been noticing your sheriffs, you need to do it. That's what we did. And I have to say, that was what I told North Carolinians, I said, look, the sooner that we all come together and decide that we're going to work together and we're going to start by letting everybody know we're here, because the courage it takes to do that is what Anna wants. That's what she needs. She said, I don't even want to know you if you don't have any courage. I don't even need to know you. And
Well,
that's because
everything else falls apart
Mhm.
without courage.
Right. Well, you have to know who you are and then have the courage to say it, and then have even more courage to stand on it, and then have it be ridiculed and have it be, questioned, and then have them contest it, because they will. And they
Right.
did. They've been
Vehemently.
contesting her. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. They have been relentlessly going after Anna and
Yeah.
contesting. And the fact that she doesn't do it, we must be Anna. So if we're not practicing it, it has to be not just that we're following Anna. We are a whole nation of Annas. If we're not, then what are we doing?
Yeah, well, she emulates such a courage that the rest of us need to, embrace as well.
Yes.
And we need to, just show up with that courage, like you said, and stand steadfast in who we are. And I think that that's part of the growing process with all of our assemblies, is having enough knowledge to know who you are, and then to be able to defend it.
Exactly. We have to, and we have to, like I'm listening to a lot of folks say, well, I could work on the assembly, but I got to put my family first. I had someone say that to me, and I was like, well, this is our family. We don't have a family. we can't do anything with our family if we don't do this.
And that's a great point, because about 4 or 5 years ago, when I was learning some of the quotes and some of the ideologies of our founding fathers, I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Benjamin or Thomas or John, but one of them is quoted saying that first comes country, right? Well, actually, no, first comes God, then country, then your family. And everybody was like, well, why did you put family last? Because exactly for like what you just said, if you don't put your country first, your family is going to suffer nonetheless.
It has to be God and country. They used to always say that it's God and country, because your family's on the land. Hello.
Right. Well, and I had a few people in our assembly earlier on. One specific man comes to mind. He was doing so much food preparation, preparing for the worst of times. And I said to him, I said, hey, you're doing all this great food prepping. Why don't you make a class of it and teach the rest of the assembly and kind of get our militia going? This is like a branch of our militia. And he was like, why am I going to waste my time with people that won't show up to a meeting? He's like, I'm just worried about my family. And I'm like, wow, that's really a bad attitude to have, because, we should be teaching others and caring for each other. And in turn, because there might be something that somebody else will do for you in that time of need, right? And that's why we're all here for each other, and we all have different skill sets. So that guy was really great at food prepping. Somebody else may be good at strategically planning for emergency response. Like if you're if you're kind of like in a situation where you're stranded somewhere because of a flood or whatever, right? Like somebody's going to have to help you get out of there. So having that mentality of only worrying about yourself is really not the best way to go.
That's the funniest thing. We have those folks right now. Everything they're doing is self-centered. And guess what? What are those people going to do when there's no one to pay?
Right.
This
Exactly.
This is the thing, okay? Like there's going to be a moment where you won't be able to pay anybody to do anything for you because guess
You
what?
don't have to work anymore.
They have everything they want, and they don't need you, and they don't need your money, and they don't need your attitude, and they don't need all your negativity, and they don't need all your evil hate or whatever.
Right.
So if we don't all practice loving each other now, we're going to be in a bad way.
Yes.
You know, you know what's going to happen is so someone said, well, nature takes care of that, you know, because what is it? What's a vegetarian? It's a bad hunter. Like, you know, that's what they say. And so, you know, all these people who think that being plant-based is going to really give them health, they're going to learn real quick how that's going to work. And the truth is going to, you know, the cream always rises to the top. So the truth is going to land up on top. And so all the things that these people are saying, and that was what I was kind of trying to get across to my mother-in-law. Like, you guys think you know stuff, but you just stopped learning things because at some point you were told, oh, you've finished college or whatever, and you don't need to learn anything anymore. Right. Or you hear people go, well, I'm a lifelong learner, as if everybody's not.
Right.
I mean, everybody should be expanding. It's a universal law. It's called expansion.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You can only expand. All right. There's no contracting.
Well, it's a choice. It's a choice that we have to make, right? That you
can't help it though, Tammy. Listen, you can't unlearn how to read. I mean, try it.
Right. Right.
Try to pretend that you don't know that the stop sign says stop. Try to pretend that, you know, the red doesn't mean stop or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's certain things that you can't change it because you can change it. You can think differently about it. Right. Like we're having to like learn that MORNING and MOURNING and all these other mornings, or PREY and PRAY and all these different praying. And the way that they've told us all these things, there's that part. Whoa.
Sorry.
It's okay. I think that I think that there are things that we can choose to and decide, okay, I'm no longer going to operate in the lies. I'm going to have to, you know, walk in this way. But the universal expansion is not really a choice that we have. You know, the polarity, the law of polarity, the law of gravity, these things are all hermetically sealed. We don't get to decide if we want to believe it or care about it or know it. Thermodynamics is happening whether you want it to or not.
Yeah. I think the choice is that people, those things exist and those things are true, right?
Right.
But there are people that make the choice not to believe it, right? And so, you know, kind of like what you were explaining with your mother-in-law is that she's got a belief that she's only going to last, you know, a few more years, that she's nearing the end. And you're, you know, bringing forth to her new information that there are some people that have lived, you know, a heck of a lot longer. And so, you know, I mean, she has the choice to open her mind and say to you, hey, Niti, I'd love for you to share with me where you learned that. And then, you know, you share it and she reads it and, you know, and again, she has the choice to believe it or to research it further or try to find other resources to back up that information. And then therefore it becomes a new belief of hers, or she chooses not to. Right. And I think that that's where we are right now, is that, you know, we have to learn, people have to learn how to open their minds and to know that there's other possibilities, that we only know what we know based on the current information that we have.
Right.
And unless you're willing to open your mind to new information and to then further investigate that information and find more resources to back up that information to then confirm your new belief, right? that's the way we grow and expand.
Right.
But again, I've met people who just are not willing to open their mind to the possibilities. Here's an example. My father-in-law has had back problems, has been a healthy man most of his life, lifted weights, and ate pretty healthy for the majority of his life. And he refused to look at any other options for his back pain. And, there were a ton of other suggestions given to him with proven results. But instead, he just listened to his doctor and ended up going to have hip surgery. So, for me, I've said this to, dozens of people throughout my life, is that it makes more logical sense to exhaust all the other options, right? Whether it be chiropractor, acupuncture, acupressure, physical therapy, whatever you want to try. There's so many other things that you could try that's non-invasive. But to go straight to the surgery and actually have a hip replacement is pretty dramatic. And really, you can't go back. You can't go back and put your body back the way it was before that surgery. So it's being able to have an open mind and to be able to look at things critically and logically. And sometimes I've learned that people, for whatever reason, I really don't understand that closed-mindedness. But there are quite a few people, stuck in that mindset. But I'm just really grateful that the majority of us in our assemblies are open-minded, because I believe that if they weren't open-minded, they wouldn't be here right now. Right?
No, yeah, they wouldn't be able to declare. I mean, someone else said something on our assembly about how, I don't know if, that people are going to get upset if we talk about this or that or whatever. And I'm like, look, anyone who has the wherewithal and the ability to see that they should want to declare at all, qualifies them to be able to be pushed around a little bit and handle it. I believe anyone who's come this far and they've declared can handle me pushing them into corners with the truth, a little bit. And they will want to find the actual truth about whatever it is that I'm saying before they want to really argue that with me. Because we've all had an experience that brought us to this moment. And most of us did not come here lightly. And all our forefathers, I mean, they sacrificed everything. They sacrificed their families. They sacrificed their
homes, their comforts, their assets. I mean, pretty much everything.
Everything. They sacrificed everything. So when people say, again, going back to, well, the family and what you're saying about God and country, I really appreciate you reminding everyone of that, because me and my husband didn't understand what there was, how do we put our family before this? Look at Anna and James. Do you think they want to be doing what what they have had to do? I mean, the way this world works is all hereditary. This inheritance is hereditary inheritance. The inheritance is because we have a hereditary relationship with the people associated. Can we just say that about 10 more times? It is the only reason that you have an inheritance is because of the hereditary relationship that you have with the people that came before you. Hello?
Right.
I think that Anna presumes that everyone knows that because the word inheritance means that. But I think people don't actually think that. Am I wrong? Because that's what when I'm talking to them, when we say that you are owed an inheritance, shouldn't that just automatically click for them?
Yeah, I mean, an inheritance to me is something that was earned or, produced before me, but that is given to me because of people that came before me, right?
I mean, listen, here, let me put it to you this way. The youth today is programmed with the idea that nepotism is wrong.
Oh, right, right. Oh, that's a huge problem.
Right.
Yeah,
And hello, everything you have, anything that you inherit is what they're trying to tell you you shouldn't want to receive from them because nepotism has been villainized.
right. Well, that's because of the corporatocracy.
Right, because they're not freaking alive, y'all. You're being trained by dead corporate fictions, and
Yeah,
so they obviously don't know the importance of your provenance. And when we say that it matters, and you're trying to disassociate and divorce your parents and divorce your families because you don't like them or whatever the crap is, whatever your excuse is.
right.
The universe already knows that's your mom and dad. The universe already knows where you came from.
Yep.
So you can't lie to the universe about where you came from.
Yeah. And we've lost a whole generation, maybe even a few generations of mentors,
Mm.
right? Our relatives that are, like grandparents and parents. We've lost a generation of the elderly in ensuing wisdom upon us, right? Uh, like taking my parents, for example, and perhaps, your in-laws, is that, we used to have a day where we could rely upon the elders for their wisdom because they've been there, they've done that, they have it's the experience and the knowledge together that brings them that wisdom.
Hmm.
And we've lost a couple of generations of that, and we've lost a couple of generations of mentoring, where fathers teach their sons or daughters how to do certain things. I think there's this belief, right? Because we have the big brother school system, that the school system is going to teach our kids everything, right? And so there's not a lot of mentoring that has gone on in the last couple of decades. And so I feel like getting back to that is going to be, a beautiful thing for us as well, having the time, our men having the time to invest in their families and give the time to their families to teach them the things that actually matter in life, the things that are important in life, and things that are going to be of value to them, and you know worth something, something in the present moment.
You know what? It's the false belief that you have to have a license or some kind of training
Right,
to teach somebody something. This is lies and bullshit, okay?
right,
And this
right,
is the nonsense that they have imposed on men today, that they're so worthless and useless that, men don't even know that every single thing they do, tying their shoes, as simple as that is an opportunity to teach.
right,
You watch one, you do one, you teach one. You watch one, you do one. Every single thing that you do, someone else may not know what that is.
right.
And everything, if you watch 10 women cook in the kitchen or 10 men cook in the kitchen, I'm just using that for an example, all of them are going to do it different. And you can learn something from all 20 of them, which is the reason why when when you want to learn and mentor under people, you should want to go and learn from multiple people who do the same thing. So you can take all the best things from each of them that you can incorporate in your own way. Isn't that the idea of anything that we do? Like as simple as decorating your home. Why do you look at magazines or go to these different Pinterest sites or whatever that people do? Is you're learning from other people's imagination,
Right.
other people's, the beauty of living men is that we're the ones, the difference between us and the animals, the reason we have dominion over them is they have no imagination. It is
Right.
our imagination
Creativity as
and
well. Yeah.
your creativity comes from your imagination.
Yeah.
Your everything comes from your inspiration. It's from your consciousness. It is the consciousness that they're trying to control. And
Right.
it is that consciousness that we all have that is uniquely ours.
Last night our assembly had a jural assembly training, and we're in the middle of reading, I believe it's Kevin Annette's book about the common law procedures and court procedures. But towards the end of the book, I want to say, I'm sure you have this book. It's like I think it's a bluish, purplish cover with like a gauntlet. But he talks about the she, SHIH, and the energy. And he talks about how the powers, he calls them the powers that should be. I like to call them the powers that shouldn't be. But he says that, their job was to take our energy, figure out how to steal our energy. But it's actually a really great chapter. And I recommend, if you haven't read that book yet, it's a great chapter in the back. But getting back to your point about learning from different aspects of doing the same thing, it reminded me of a moment when I was teaching my daughter how to tie her shoe. And, I was teaching her to loop it, swoop it, and pull it through, right? But when she was in school, they were teaching her how to make two bunny ears and twist them together and tie them together, right? And so it's interesting because, she didn't like the swooping idea that I was doing. She liked the bunny ears, and that's the way she tied her shoes. And I was okay with that. I didn't force her to do it my way, but this is the whole point, is that you're learning how to do the same thing from different people, and whatever works for you is how you choose to do it. Right. And that's the beauty of us, working together in our assemblies, is that, as long as we're working on the same goal, it doesn't matter how we're doing it to get there, as long as we're achieving the goal that we're setting forth, because somebody else may find a different way to do it that may be better, more efficient, and than the way that I was going to do it. And I love that. I love that we have that diversity and the different imaginations and different creativity. And that's one of the reasons why I started the Outreach Think Tank group, is because I wanted to bring all the great minds from across our state borders together and share all the different resources and their ideas on how to market their assemblies and do outreach. And it's been a really great outcome. I feel like we've been able to share resources and hear each other's ideas, and it's been a beautiful experience. And I love that. I love hearing from other people and learning from other people. And so I'm looking forward to the changes. I know some people are anxious and some people fear the change, but I'm just really ready for it. I'm willing to embrace it, whatever that's going to bring. I don't feel like we're going to experience much pain, or much hardships. I think it's going to kind of be a little bit of a seamless, maybe slightly bumpy transition. That's the way I see it. I don't know about you. What do you think, Niti?
I think that the plane's going to land.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel, yeah. I mean, we might lose a wing or something on the way, but it's okay. Like, we're all going to be safe. It's all going to, and yeah, I mean, there might be a lot of hard breathing, and,
Turbulence, yep.
there would be some turbulence. We might lose some luggage along the way. Things. We don't care about the things. We just care about the people and, all of the precious life and everything that the Federation is working on, everything our fiduciary is working on with the Federation and all these trustees around the world with the bank, they are doing anything and everything and trying to look at all the things and make sure they didn't miss any blind spots to, ensure that it isn't completely shocking and horrible. And we should all remember that there's not very many of us, but we're connected with everybody within 6 degrees.
Right.
Of us. So that means that we have the power within us to ensure that any fear that they may have when one thing turns off and the other thing turns on, it shouldn't be that big of a thing. And it shouldn't be so difficult for them to hear about what the actual system is. And I really hope that Anna will be able to get a grip on, well, the Army should give us a grip on the media.
Right.
A lot of folks here in North Carolina thought it was a joke when I said we need to get hold of our media here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They thought it was a joke. They thought I was stupid. They're like, you should be worrying about how to get food to the people. No, I want to make sure that mentalism is the number one thing that we get to. They should know that everything is fine. They should know that somebody is at work. They should know that there is a solution. They should have the confidence that they're not going to die. They should know that. They should know. And right now, the orthodoxy is not going to give them that peace. And 99% of any of us, all of the living men will be fine as long as they have a peace of mind that someone's on the job. And so, they want to try to make fun of me for it. And I'm just like, okay, well, y'all could just realize that as long as someone knows that we know, and this isn't a shock, and we're prepared, then it can be an easy passing of the guard. And then it's smoother because they realize, oh, this is coming away from that. Anna says, we've only seen the example, the demonstration of how the corporatocracy exercises the government. But when you experience what living men will do in that exercise, it's not going to probably be the aesthetic that you expect. It's not going to be real clean. Okay, it's going to be messier, but it'll be for the greater good and you'll know it.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think would be a great strategy to get grip of our media?
I think the number one thing everybody needs to do is get their sheriffs in their assemblies. Get the sheriffs that are there right now who have the public version of authority and make them comprehend what's going on, and get our own guys in touch with them on a personal level and have that relationship. You must do it, because the Army's job is to support the sheriffs. And that resolves a lot, because they already have people in place to do things. They already have training. And they also, guess what? Know how to take over a TV station or a radio station or
Yeah, and
whatever.
what's the 3-letter organization that runs the airwaves or that regulates the airwaves? Do you
The
remember?
FCC?
Yeah,
Yeah, they should be noticed immediately.
right.
I mean, we should be noticing them anyway for all their surveillance.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
FCC can go ahead and take their satellites out of our space right now.
yeah, there's so much to be noticing
I
that
mean, actually, if you really notice the right people, there's not so much. And then also make it simple, you know? Get out of our airspace. Bye. The
I
only
don't know
thing
if they actually respond to simplicity.
oh, they will. I mean, listen, you know what I know about men? Men are simple. And our enforcement is the men. And I've been calling all men for a long time, and they showed up. I've actually been really excited and delighted to be able to see that we have former military folks that are declaring.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're really
I'm
grateful
real
for all
excited.
of that. Yeah,
Yeah. And so I had a couple of those guys show up to my Saturday business call, and, because they're trying to know what to do. Well, guess what? They're really good at watch one, do one, teach one.
yeah,
They're real good at it. They know it. They know how to get that message across, and they know how to communicate with less.
yeah.
Because in
Less is
times
better.
of because in times of emergency and everything that they're doing, when you're standing on the X, you don't have time for a lot of words.
Right. I like the term "keep it simple, stupid."
It's all of that, right? So, I mean, why do we need to go chasing around all these people figuring out all their crap? That's not my job. Our job is to protect the people and their assets. You go tell your employees what to do right now.
Yeah.
And so the easiest, simplest, this is the biggest threat to them is us to have a relationship with our sheriffs. If we got hold of our sheriffs and we got hold of our army, they're done. Why do you
Yeah.
think Anna's like, oh, I'm glad I figured out this one? Like that's a big deal. She
Yeah.
doesn't need to talk to everybody else then.
And I think the biggest thing is to know and understand who their paymaster is.
Well, in a second, it's going to
Because I
be
think that that's the deciding factor for a lot of our sheriffs, right? Is who do I work for? Technically, they're supposed to be working for the people, but they get their paychecks from who? And therefore,
well, right now they're not getting a paycheck. Why don't we just say that?
well, I don't know. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that some of these sheriffs are not getting paid. I think some of them are. I don't know where they're getting paid from. I'm not quite sure that they'd be serving if they weren't getting paid. They've got families and stuff that they have to support.
Well, the military is not getting paid.
Yeah, but they get paid very little to begin with.
I mean, but think about what you're saying. There's way more of them than there are sheriffs.
True.
You think they can't all get? First of all, sheriffs are pretty much. I know, at least on our state, the sheriffs and the state troopers have a good idea about what we're doing.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Yeah.
And it's not hard for them to figure that out. And it doesn't matter who their paymaster is, Tammy. The Supreme Court has already ruled that they should be upholding the Constitution.
True. That's right.
So it's nothing. That's not complicated.
Right.
And if they know it, then the Army's supposed to back them up. That's it, period. And they are getting paid.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they need to know that, because whether it's coming this way or that way at this point, first of all, it's coming all from us no matter what. And we just have to show them how. And that was what Anna was saying. She had the hardest time explaining to the generals what happened with the banks, but she finally drew them a picture and they finally got it.
Yes, I remember her saying that. Yeah.
So, she's like, okay, they're getting it.
Maybe she needs to share that picture with the rest of us so we could share it with our sheriffs.
I don't know. We've been talking with them and they actually get more than you realize. And so once you start making that effort, you will also see, how that works.
Have you guys on your state had any face-to-face contact?
We're getting ready to go into that next. So that'll be the next step. I mean, we kind of wanted to wait until our banks were funded so that we could host them, because we already know where our sheriffs have their annual conferences and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just intend to replicate that, repeat it, keep it consistent for them. Like where they normally would go, how they normally would do.
You're saying you want to fund that for them because they won't have.
No, we're going to run it. We need to run it because they need to hear us. They don't need to be hearing all of their own whatever. No, we need to be there for an open panel for them to speak with us and get their marching orders 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that idea.
Also, they need to, that's the easiest way to do it. Why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah. I'd love to know if any people in the audience, maybe we don't have maybe people who are watching this live, but if we have anybody watching playback also, if they've ever had, a face-to-face meeting with any of their sheriffs and if they've had any success, tell us about it. We'd love to know.
Absolutely. And also, I just realized we've been talking for like an hour and a half, and you're going to have to get your baby soon, I think. So
he's got a snow day today.
Oh, really? Did it snow up there?
Yeah, we were supposed to get 8 inches, but it looks like we got, maybe like 4 or 5.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad it happened after we left, or I don't think it was. It started turning dark when we were there, and we were like, bye. We're going to move on down the road.
Yes, and we were coming from the heat, and coming back into the cold weather. So it was a little bit of a shock for us too.
Yeah. Well, I bet it's beautiful over there.
Yeah.
Especially what you've described as your land over there already. It must be really pretty.
Yeah, after it snows up here, I live up in the mountains, and it's really gorgeous here. It's just beautiful land. And usually after it snows the next day, if you get sunshine, but there's a lot of snow, it really does look like a beautiful winter wonderland. Yeah. And I would say that there'd be more people, I think, that would enjoy the colder climate because you can, go skiing, there's ice skating, there's snow tubing, snowmobiling. There's so many things. A lot of people do ice fishing up here. We've got a lot of lakes. And so I think that people would enjoy the weather if they didn't have to get up so early in the morning and plow their driveways and shovel their walkways to hurry up and scurry out into the traffic to get to work. And then they're dealing with crazy people driving and sliding on the road. And, like all those things, I think, make the colder weather, more miserable for them. So if they didn't have to deal with that, I think we'd be able to enjoy the season. And, I'm looking forward to those days anyway.
It's going to be here in 2 minutes. I mean, look, all that's coming right. Look, that's going to be the best part. Actually, working and doing things and building things and creating things is so much fun.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to want to do it if they don't have to do it for somebody else standing over them, screaming at them, telling them what to do. When we can actually do things like that, because we just want to, and we do it on our living man's God speed.
Right.
It's going to be amazing because everybody's like, nobody's going to work. Nobody's going to do this or that. That's not true. We don't know how to just sit around and not do anything. I mean, that's going to be boring.
Yes. Well, even for us, we were away for a week on vacation, and usually it takes us about, 3 or 4 days to kind of feel chill and like we can relax because we're so used to being on a schedule and being busy and rushing here and rushing there. And so, by the time we get into that relaxation mode and can just chill, then it's like, oh, it's time to go back home.
Right.
But I'm hoping, with this new way of living where people don't have to work, you won't feel like you need a vacation from your life.
Yeah.
Right? Because like
Yeah.
right now, that's the way of the world, is that your life is so chaotic and crazy, and there's so many responsibilities, and you're being spread so thin that you have to, unplug to get a break. And so there's going to be a day, I'm so looking forward to that, where we're going to really love getting up and facing our day and doing the things that bring us joy. And I agree with you, Niti. I don't think people are going to sit around and just become,
They're
lazy
not
or
going to just die. Okay.
sedentary or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if they just sit like that, they're going to just fall apart. That's not
right.
going to be good. But what I know is that if you look at most homesteaders right now, they're already doing that. They don't, a lot of people say, oh, I can't leave because, the animals and this and that. But I mean, they did that on purpose.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
They're living that life because it's so important to them and it is a priority. And who wants to leave it? When you're living on heaven on earth, then why do you need to go anywhere?
right.
And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that people won't go travel and see things or whatever, but we're really not the type of people who only want to do that. I mean, there might be a few people who only want to do that and they won't be on their own land, but they'll still be traveling on their own schedule. And they're still
Right.
going to be doing whatever they're doing. There's a lot of people who go in service and they do things and they're able to do things on the road. I mean, I don't know. I remember in my 20s and 30s and probably even 40s, there were things I could have been doing while we were moving around and it would have been fine. I don't know that I care about that anymore right now, but maybe we'll see.
Right.
I could see our progeny wanting to do something like that. And then we would just hold a home base for them to land somewhere,
Yeah.
someday or something.
Right.
But I just don't, because we've already discussed all those things. Have y'all talked about that in your home, everybody out there in the audience? Have you talked to your families about the transition of doing this? Because we've been talking about it with our progeny, like our immediate family, because our babies are still in the house. So we have been having this discussion. They're excited. They're looking forward to all those things. They're telling us all the things that they're interested in trying because they don't know what they want to do. But isn't that what any of us would be? I'm looking forward to being able to try to do the things that I was interested in that I've never been able to do and just try and try and try and try and try all the stuff.
Yeah, well, for me and my family, I keep telling my kids, hey, I want you to focus on what your passion is, what you really enjoy in life, and then that's what you'll do with your life. Like the things that you enjoy, figure out how you could be of service to others with that gift and the passion that the things that you enjoy. I just don't think that they think it's going to be a reality. They look at me like I've got 5 heads, because right now we're in that transition period, and people say I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Well,
their attitude.
also, my passion has changed over time, and I think everybody's does.
Oh
And
yeah.
it changes, seasonally, and it changes based on where you're at. But I think that you know, I think Tammy, you guys, once you and your husband start demonstrating for them what it could be like, then they will follow your lead. And I just have faith in all the people. I really do. I have faith. I know that we have a lot of deranged people. We have a lot of people who are doing things for the money and they're worshiping the wrong thing and, whatever right now.
Right.
But it's all I think it's going to pan out. And I have faith. And I hope everyone else here does too. Have faith that, it's going to be that bumpy plane ride and we're going to land and everyone's going to make it.
Right. And when we land, we're going to be like, woo, we're here.
Yay.
Yeah, have you ever been on a plane ride where that's actually happened? Where
Yeah.
there was so much turbulence that when you finally landed, everybody started clapping and cheering. Yeah,
Yep.
that's kind of what it's gonna be like.
Yeah. This person says this. Let me just tell you, friend, whoever you are. I'll tell you who's going to do what is unpleasant. The people that love it. Because there's what you think is unpleasant, somebody else doesn't. Like, I know a lot of people who say they don't like to cook. I can't understand what their problem is because I love it.
Yeah, I like
And
to cook
so,
too.
yeah. And then there's some people who love to clean. I know them. They love it.
That's not me.
I mean, I know people who love it. So, there's always somebody who loves to do what you don't like to do. So there's always somebody going to want to do it. And the other part of that is when you want to build something big, like when we want to create a big bridge or something big for all the people will get together and they're going to do it. Why? Because they want the bridge. So when you get a group of people together to do a project, because you need to do the project. There's all aspects of this project. There's going to be the aspects of the project nobody likes. And guess what? You got to set up, you got to do it, and then you got to clean up. That's how it goes.
Yeah, and I think, I'm checking out the chat, and Wade actually has a good, I think it's Juan Wade, who he said it won't be all at once. There will be many who won't get it, and they will continue to work to the work of the matrix. And he says also that tech that is coming out will take care of a lot of the labor jobs.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, the other part of that is a lot of the tech that can't take care of the labor jobs because people just have to do it. You know what? When people feel good, they want to build things and do things. Right now, you have an entire population of people who are very sick. They're all very
and their
sick
energy is so low, and they're tired all the time.
because they're so sick. They're hungry. I don't need snacks. I don't eat snacks. I don't need them, and I don't eat them. And when you're nourished properly, you don't need snacks. I don't need healthy snacks because I don't need a snack. But when you are properly nourished, then you fast most of the time. You don't really eat a lot. And you just eat a few times. So you have all this time to do stuff and you have all this energy. And when you feel good and your mind's clear and you can move and you can do your own thing, you can't sit still. Right. Nobody can stop you.
Yep.
And nobody will stop you. I mean, when people feel really good, it's so incredible what they do. Like, the art, the craftsmanship. I mean, come on. When a guy is really happy and he loves to make furniture, for example, he's going to make so much furniture that he's going to wish somebody would want just because that's what he likes to do. Yeah. And he likes to make it. Just like an artist, there are some artists that just like to make lamps. I don't know why, but they do. You know what I'm saying? And it's like they just want to make when you think about the different, I mean, I know so many craftsmen and artists that there's this one guy I know, all he likes to do is make greenhouses. He can't even find enough people to need a greenhouse. Okay. But now he started doing them with these repurposed windows, and they are amazing looking because he just takes these rando windows and he's making these incredible structures. And then people who didn't even care about a greenhouse want one
because they just like the way it looks.
Because it looks so freaking cool. And like, I know this one lady that doesn't use it as a greenhouse. She uses it as a she shed. Because because it's just cool.
A little place to read or hang out and just meditate.
Right. And I know they make these healing cottages on their land. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I think would be an up and coming. I kind of said this to my son because my son loves to build things, and I've said to him, because he's had some interest in making furniture, and I said that would be a great thing for you to do with your life. And he's like, yeah, but you can't make any money doing that. And, I just thought to myself, I said, with everybody having all these different tastes in style of homes, right? You've got modern homes, you've got farm style homes, you've got Victorian homes, you've got all these different style homes. Wouldn't it be amazing to have a carpenter that could build furniture specifically for your style of home?
I want him. You tell him that if he learns how to do it, then I have some custom ideas that we want done, and we would keep him busy for a good long little minute. And he would be like, dog, I can't do anything for anybody else because of this one lady, And what he's going to learn is that his energy exchange item isn't going to be appreciated by everyone. And he doesn't need everyone to be appreciating his stuff. He just needs enough people to appreciate his stuff so that he can get a little bit of an energy exchange credit to use for what he wants. And that's not going to be a lot of people. What he's going to realize is that what he needs to produce to satisfy himself and the ones he loves and that he's caring for is not going to be a lot. And when all of us are doing that, there's going to be nothing hardly wasted because we don't have the energy to create a bunch of stuff that nobody's going to use.
Right.
Or want. And we're just not going to do that. That's dumb.
And we're not any longer making those things to sell them and have to,
and have to sell them.
Yeah, have to sell them to make a living. So there won't be any pressure to produce and keep producing. Yeah.
Right. He's going to only have pressure because somebody's such a fan. And then he'll be like, oh, man, I don't know if I want to do that for you. And then they're going to be like, but we really love what you do. And then they're going to have to try to win him over. And then that's going to be the new thing is who can you win over?
Yeah.
So anyway, I think this was a fun daydream that we were able to share with everybody today, Tammy.
Yes. Hopefully everybody, is feeling motivated, inspired, and wanting to celebrate with their fellow assembly members, and wanting to get the good word out there to everybody else.
Yeah. Yep. This is just a real funny thing I want to close with. I can't wait for Taco Bell to go drown somewhere.
If the tech is anything like the AI greeter at the Taco Bell drive-thru, those people are going to need those jobs back, or we'll be living like idiocracy eventually.
Yeah, we don't want Taco Bell, so we don't care. We're just like, bye.
Yes.
I can't wait to meet what the new chefs are going to do. And because, I remember it wasn't so long ago that I remember a time when I was growing up, we didn't have all the Taco Bells and all this crap. And we had actual mom and pop restaurants. And those, like, I remember Jack's Steakhouse in my neighborhood. And it was just the one, Jack's Steakhouse.
Yeah.
And when you went to Jack's Steakhouse, it was that guy named Jack and his steakhouse.
Yeah.
And it was just the way they did it.
Yep.
It didn't follow any whatever this crap is that you see right now. And when we would go there, it would be an environment that was very catered to our community because our community was who was going there.
Yeah.
And
they go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, actually, that was the one thing I have to say about the New Jersey diners. It was reminiscent of that. I mean, outside of the fact that they serve way too many varieties of food, but like the people, they know their people. They know who the people are. And there's nothing more fun than, and I know this from working in restaurants, there's nothing more fun than serving the people that come, and you know all of their little idiosyncrasies and weirdnesses, and then you just already know that, who's that lady. You might not know her name, but you will know, oh, that's, the 2 straws and 10 napkin lady that she wants, or whatever. That's
Yeah.
the lady that wants the bacon on the side or whatever it is. But like, that's going to be that's what's so fun, is
Yeah.
getting to know all these people's weirdnesses, making them happy. And then, we used to, you could, back then they would close whenever in the world they wanted to close. They opened when they wanted to open, they closed. And guess what else? They ran out of food. They'd be like, okay, we're closed because we ran out of food.
We got no more. Yeah.
Yeah. See you tomorrow. Bye.
And it goes back to, do you remember the show when we were kids? It was called Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bar in Boston, right? It was about the bar
Right.
Cheers in Boston, but their theme was, you want to go to a place where everybody knows your name.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
That the theme song was that. And that's kind of like what I think about when I think about our local restaurants, right? Is when the restaurants are serving the people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you get to know and meet the men and women, like, oh yeah, that lady, she likes the 10 straws and, 5
Right.
napkins, whatever. But, one of my jobs when I was younger, I worked in the restaurant business for quite a while. And when I lived in Connecticut, one of the things that I kind of got into, not because I wanted to, but it was just I was following the restaurant manager.
Mm-hmm.
His thing was he would open up a new restaurant and manage it until it was established and well running, and then he'd go on to the next thing, and I would just follow him. So I got used to and accustomed to the ins and outs of opening new restaurants. And so, and I moved to Florida for a little bit when I was 18, 19. And I did a few openings of a few restaurants down there as well. In fact, a few of them were owners from Wisconsin, and they used to ship down Wisconsin cheese to the restaurant. But that was really fun, to learn the ins and outs of opening new restaurants. And they weren't chain restaurants, they were mom and pop shops. It was really fun. But
hey, there's going to be a need for that. And like, I used to do that with the apartment complexes. Actually, it was not opening the new ones, but it was taking them out of the red and putting them into the black. And so that's all we did. We didn't own them. We didn't manage them. We would just go to whoever's in the red. And within 45 days, we were putting them in the trajectory of going into the black. And we didn't really change what they had, but it's a matter of, really specifically training their staff to appreciate what they had, to identify the market and target it. And, yes, that would allow them then, once they get back into the black, to start updating, upgrading, and, rehabilitating some of the things, right?
Yep.
But you had to get them back into the black first. So, I think that there's going to be a lot of folks, because they're also going to need to learn how to do these mom and pop shops in a nationalized system instead of the corporate system.
Right.
So they're going to have to be retrained into that. So that's
and it's going to be a lot simpler.
It's so much simpler.
It's so much simpler.
Because you don't. Yeah,
you're just going to deal with a ledger system that is plus or minus,
and nobody else is going to be in your business.
Right. Yeah.
They can go mind their business for real.
Right. And you won't have to be, saving receipts and all this crazy stuff. I mean, when I owned my business, my accountant, hated me during tax season because I'd show up with this huge envelope of all my receipts and I'd be like, here you go. Because, who has the time to be managing that stuff? I mean, but we won't need to be doing that. That's the beautiful thing. Like, our businesses are going to be so much more simplified that all we have to do is focus on the product and running. Yes. And the
joy. The reason that restaurants aren't able to make it right now is because of the state of state in your business, the
Yes.
regulators
Yes.
in
The
your
federal
business.
government in your
Yeah.
business.
If those people weren't in your business, your restaurant would be flying and so spinning and bringing joy. So now we can start focusing on just bringing the joy.
Yeah.
And that would be all. People are going to do the things because they'll get to bring the joy. And let me just tell you, there is no greater gift than to be able to bring joy to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And you won't have to worry about, some kind of a breakout,
Right.
COVID, right? Shutting your doors down. I have to laugh though, is that in New Jersey, we had a couple of gym owners that made it to the newspapers because they refused and made it on the
Right.
news. They refused to shut their doors. And
Good.
the government came and, with their security guards and put locks on their doors. And then the owners came and just cut those locks right off and opened their doors back up. So it was a beautiful thing to see, but we won't have to worry about that anymore. We won't have to worry about a bunch of thugs showing up at your doors, telling you that it's unsafe to run your business. I mean, it's just the craziness. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the freedom, getting back to the freedom. And like you said, being of service to others and inviting people. I think Juan was saying how, in his early days as a manager told him to make the bar your living room, and you invited your friends that don't know each other to a party. I love that idea, welcoming new people into your establishment, and just, talking again to each other, and having a good time, and being able to enjoy whatever it is that your service is, whether it be food, whether it be an experience, whatever it is, products that you're selling.
Or the furniture your son's going to make for us.
Yeah.
Really, it's a big deal. And like Juan saying,
Mhm.
I got trained at TGI Fridays back in the day when it was owned individually.
Mhm.
And we had the screaming bar, and we didn't write anything down, and we had no registers or anything like that. So the way that the whole place operated was in our mind. We had to have a really good
Memorize it all.
memory. We memorized everything. And
Yep.
so I was a bartender at the Screaming Bar. I could get a job bartending anywhere. Everybody knows if you were trained at Fridays as a Screaming bartender, you know how to do everything from cook to clean to whatever, because that's what we had to do. And our training was intense. And talk about on the job training that was somebody screaming at you, like that. I think restaurant training is amazing, and it's really powerful. And it helps you really
You learn a lot about customer service.
Well, you have a really
a lot of things.
and you learn so many things, like how to take care of other people under fire while you're being yelled at, and but then you actually get so good at it that nothing phases you, and then nobody yells at you anymore, and now it becomes so easy, and you're giving the best service, and actually able to get in a zone, and you can go ahead and start knowing the needs of the people.
Yeah.
And before they know that they need 10 things, and you already got it right there for them, and you already have their napkins, and you already have all their stuff,
Right.
And so and it's fun. I used to love being at work. It was a workout, but
you're on your feet all day running around.
Right. But you know what? I felt good. And you know what I loved was the people. Me too. If I didn't care about having to be there for the money, or I would still have done that just because it was fun. And I got to meet all these people. The only thing that would be a little bit different probably is, and actually we didn't tolerate misbehavior. When people were abusive to us, it was great. I could go tell my manager, and my manager would take me off of that table, and they would handle it.
Yeah.
And then, and they would make it quick, fast, and try to get them out the door.
Right.
Like, oh, you want to be in here acting like a fool? Well, you're going to have to deal with me now. I'm your server. Okay. And if I'm your server and you want to act, out of honor, like dishonor. If you're dishonorable, then we will very professionally take care of your basic needs and we will walk you out the door. It's like not a big deal.
And those were back in the days when, for me anyway, the managers were very accommodating because they wanted the return repeat business. And so that was a time where if an order came out wrong or whatever the case, right, that the manager would then either go and comp it or, because a lot of times people didn't want to reorder something and have to wait for the food to be cooked. So they had to try to make that wrong right, and it's a very different scenario, I feel like, today, where they're just like, oh, well, if you don't like it, then get out. It's like, well,
but you also couldn't abuse that. So it went both ways back then. Today, what I see in corporatocracy is like they'll just give you a bunch of free stuff and everybody keeps coming and expecting this to happen and they complain. That's what I see.
Oh yeah.
And back then, if you complain,
because you're dealing with, back then we were dealing with honesty. Right?
Oh yeah.
Today people are just trying to milk and bilk as much as they can, and then they're taking advantage of the hospitality rather than, being honest and wanting, their thing that came out wrong to be right. But the restaurant business, my oldest son works in the restaurant business, and it's interesting to hear some of the stories that he has to deal with. But memorizing things. I can remember taking an order for a party of 10 and, just getting their order and memorizing, and they'd be like, you don't have to write that down. No, I got it all up here.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we did. All our tables, everything. And we used to customize meals for everybody.
Yeah.
So we had SI because you were cooking for real. So it wasn't like you're microwaving some pre-made dish.
Yeah.
So like if we were cooking for you and you don't like onions, we could take the onions out because we could cook from scratch. And so the best part, the reason I had a lot of repeat people, because people would come in with their kids and their kids didn't want to eat like some elaborate whatever. And so, I mean, I remember this one family came in and their one daughter, all she wanted was some scrambled eggs. That's all the kid wanted was some scrambled eggs. And she couldn't believe that she would come in and I already knew, and we'd have her scrambled eggs and we would bring them out. And the mom was like, this is the only place I can come eat because she can get her scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not a big deal.
I know. I find it crazy when some places you go to, they don't allow you to make substitutions. Or the better part is when you decide you don't want, you're taking something out of something,
right?
And you're not adding it, but yet they want to charge you for that change. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm getting a less of a product here. Why are you charging me for this? And it's like, I've worked in the kitchen. I know that your ticket is going to say without onions, right? Or hold this, or no bread, right?
Because they operate on efficiency, which is corporate, and it's not real living people. Yeah. And they have to meet a 2-minute or a less than 2-minute time. We didn't. It was like if you came in to eat and we're cooking from scratch, you're gonna wait for your food.
Right.
You're gonna hang out. It's gonna be, I mean, like, we're not gonna take forever, but it's not gonna come out in 2 minutes because it takes more than 2 minutes to cook it. So we gotta walk it back, we gotta cook it, we gotta come back out, whatever. It takes a minute, right? So that was a big deal. And actually, I think that more than giving people replacement meals, like if they were, we really didn't have anybody return food most of the time. So, shockingly, we didn't. Right. And most of the time, everything they got was how they ordered it and, whatever. I mean, honestly, I think that when we were, only new servers would have this problem. But like the older servers, we didn't have that problem. In the kitchen, or whatever. But mostly they would end up getting a gift card. And they would come back they would be invited to come back and try again.
Yeah.
Come back so we can make it better for you next time or something like that. It was very rare that we would do a remake or something like that, you know,
Right.
or try to fly something out because it's not going to happen really well or something. But anyway, okay, we could just keep talking like this forever.
Well, we're going on 2 hours. Wow, we really pushed the limit today.
All right, friends. Look, we're real excited. I like your ideas, Juan, talking about some kind of getting colloidal gold shots. That would be awesome. Can you imagine going to a bar and ordering a colloidal gold shot? Oh my gosh.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
That I am looking forward to being able to do things, eat foods, and have experiences that are not going to kill us. That would be great.
Yes, I agree there. Yes, and we can trust that it's not going to kill us.
Yes. All right, friends. We love you so much. Thank you. Hey, I look forward to seeing everybody on Thursday. We got a new time. It's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check that out. That's going to be coming on Thursdays. Maybe Anna's going to pop in. She's always going to get an invitation to pop in. But we are going to start talking about how to actually exercise and manage getting Americans' hands back on all the land and soil.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tammy, for joining me today and for this fun conversation.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for trying.